Niccolò Machiavelli, 16th century Italian diplomat, political thinker, arch baddie. His name conjures up everything that's sly about human behavior.
Well, we have an image of what the Machiavellian is. I mean, the word is in our dictionaries. He is an adjective.
Machiavellian, astute, cunning, intriguing.
Controlling, powerful.
Sinister, underhand.
Devious, scheming.
Cunning, subtle.
Nefarious, manipulative, and to a degree, cruel.
It's almost as if his name itself, Mackie Evil, it just lends itself to a form of demonization.
Actually, we're not in Florence. We're 10 miles south of Florence in San Casciano. This was Machiavelli's country house in the 1500s, and I'm here for a guided tour.
Questo è lo studio dove Machiavelli ha scritto Il Principe.
Where he wrote The Prince?
Sì,
Yeah.
exactly.
And what is this?
And that is his coat of arms, his family's coat of arms, the cross and the nails.
The cross and the nails? What does that mean?
Machiavelli. It is dated back to his name, Machiavelli, so related with the cross and the nails of Christ.
Not a bad coat of arms for a man who, for centuries, was known as the Antichrist. But the cross and nails might just as well stand for the violent times Machiavelli lived through.
Those best able to imitate the fox have succeeded best. But foxiness should be well concealed. One must be a great feigner and dissembler. A deceiver will always find someone willing to be deceived.
What's interesting about the book, it's a bit like it says, we've inherited an idea about human nature from Christianity and classical humanism. And this idea of human nature is encouraging us to be good. And what Machiavelli is saying is, what about if we thought differently about this? What about if we thought that vices and virtues were things you could use to survive?
If a ruler who wants always to act honorably is surrounded by many unscrupulous men, his downfall is inevitable. Therefore, it is necessary for a ruler who wishes to maintain his position to learn how to be able not to be good.
To any Christian reader of Machiavelli at the time, they're going to say, but you're forgetting the day of judgment. On the day of judgment, all your sins will be revealed, and you will very much wish that you hadn't behaved like that. Now, Machiavelli pays no attention to that. That's a huge silence in the book. It's just not there as a consideration. The book is predicated on the assumption that the idea that your sins will find you out is a childish superstition. They will not find you out.
Don't be evil. That's what Google says is the right thing. But isn't it precisely these user-friendly global corporations that are the modern-day Machiavellians?
Corporatism presents a much more pleasant face to the world, but in that sense it may be even more Machiavellian because it's, it's smiling at us. Is it benign? I don't know. Is it benign? But it's certainly subtle.
The motto of Google is don't be evil. But don't look at the words, look at their actions, the data they're gathering on the individuals, the global presence they have. But in order to exercise power in the world, you have to give the appearance of being nice and good. If you look to be too ambitious for power, people are going to see that, they're not going to like it. The public wants to feel that you are motivated by some higher aspiration, so you have to manage appearances. And all of these companies play the game like that.
The mission of the company is to make the world more open and connected. Everyone is going to have a much better experience when they're doing different things with their friends.
This is Tupac Shakur. He'd been a huge fan of Machiavelli before he was gunned down in 1996. When he was in prison, he studied The Prince, and when he got out, he changed his name to Makaveli and made videos like this. Machiavelli died in 1527 at the age of 58, 5 years before The Prince was published. Little did he know that 500 years later, what he called his little pamphlet, would remain one of the most influential books ever written.
What he actually wrote became one of the most hotly debated, deeply disturbing and important books of Western civilization. To some, it was a veritable guidebook for tyrants and totalitarians. Mussolini loved it. Marxists recognized a fellow revolutionary. To others, it paved the way for ethnic and religious toleration, individual rights and modern democracies. But, fairly or unfairly, it has caused his name, Machiavelli, to ring through the centuries as a synonym for evil. The Prince is a book about power. It was written to shock and re-educate its reader, how the game is really played. It tells the prince that before anything else, he must know how to fight. He must learn to be ruthless and cruel, to lie, break his word, and be ready to violate both morals and religious principles when needed.
Machiavelli found it possible to live with contradictory views, and therefore not to see himself, as he came very quickly to be seen, as anti-Christian or anything of the kind.
Some think I should teach men the way to heaven, but I would rather teach them the way to hell, so they'll know how to go around it.
A copy of The Prince was finally presented to a Medici, who gave no indication he ever read it. It would never be published in Machiavelli's lifetime, and when he died, he went to hell. Sort of.
The demonization of Machiavelli began very shortly after Machiavelli's death. And that came at a time when the crisis of the contesting religions was really kicking into full gear in the 1530s and 40s. And both sides saw a demon in Machiavelli.
Poor Niccolò. Not only is he now a demon, but the Medici plague him even in hell. His ideas are said to have inspired the massacre of 50,000 French Protestants in 1572, while Catherine de' Medici was Queen of France. And Protestant England makes Niccolò its prime villain. Washington, Napoleon, Churchill, Lenin, intellectual children of the same father. How Machiavellian.
When decision time comes, keep your own counsel. And never ever forget that you are in show business, that leadership is 9/10 acting a role. Never step out of it in public. When decision time comes, keep your own counsel. And never ever forget that you are in show business, that leadership is 9/10 acting a role. Never step out of it in public.
And never ever forget that you are in show business, that leadership is 9/10 acting a role. Never step out of it in public.
Welcome to the top of the heap, and lots of luck. Your humble and admiring servant, Niccolò Machiavelli. P.S. Don't look to heaven for your reward.
Tupac Amaru II. Just towards the end of the 1400s, European explorers reached the Americas and began to colonize this new world. The Spanish controlled most of the territory from Mexico south to Argentina. There were only a few whites and many Indians, and so, in a lot of areas, the local Inca lord was left alone and recognized by the Spanish king. This made two separate aristocracies, the one native Indian, the other white Spanish. Very soon there were mixed marriages, and so a class of mestizos, people of white and Indian parentage, grew up. Some of them came from aristocratic families on both sides. Tupac Amaru was from exactly this kind of background. By the time Tupac Amaru was born in 1742, all these racial and social tensions were coming to a head. Born José Gabriel Condorcanqui, the future Tupac Amaru studied at the best schools and colleges, but always identified with the native Indian population, despite being mestizo and of high family. Perhaps his strong Indian identity was because he believed he was the direct descendant of the last Inca emperor, Tupac Amaru I. He took the name, calling himself Tupac Amaru II in true dynastic style. It also clearly meant that he wanted to take all Peru from the Spanish and rule it himself as an Inca, a native ruler.
My lights are brittle, don't let get you. Writings on the wall. Caught up in the middle. My lights are brittle, don't let get you. Nothing more to say. Caught up in the middle. My lights are brittle, don't let get you.
Tupac Shakur. Now Tupac was gunned down on the Las Vegas Strip after a Mike Tyson fight. Now how many witnesses do you need to see some before you arrest somebody? More people saw Tupac get shot than the last episode of Seinfeld. And you know what? Every year, Tupac comes back from the dead, records a new album with clues in it. Every room you gotta pull, you listen real hard. The brother in the red shot the dead right there. Tupac is trying to tell us listen again, it was a nigga named Kevin with a Makaveli right there. Tupac is reaching out to us. Listen, you mean to tell me they can find Saddam Hussein in a fucking hole, but you can't tell me who shot Tupac? They found Saddam Hussein in fucking Iraq. Tupac got shot in Vegas. In fucking Vegas. Not on no side street, the motherfucker got shot on the strip. In front of Circus.
I always say what's done in the dark always come to light.
So,
okay, what's going on with
it's two questions. I don't really want to get into the semantics of the night, other than the photo, really.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, because I asked you about the lights, and you kept talking about the street lights. We're talking about the traffic lights, the red, the yellow, and the green light. Were they at a red light, correct?
Yeah, we were at a traffic light. Yeah.
There's no traffic lights on that windshield. Why not?
I don't know. Maybe the camera didn't pick up the lights, but it picked up the lights from the the other buildings that were there. So you can stop at a light. You can stop at a light. The lights, it all depends. It could be the height. It could be anything. I can't answer, but we were definitely stopped at a light.
Because it's simple science. Like, every light reflects on the vehicle, but the windshield has no light at all.
Yeah, go stop at a light. Try it.
Over the years, that never crossed your mind. Like, yo, there's no lights on this windshield.
Never thought about it. Never even thought about it. Never even thought about it.
One more thing I want to ask you, if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Do your thing.
This right here, can you see this?
Yeah. And before you get into that, Huggy, I can't answer to that, sir. So I
understand. You can't answer for that photo, but this is your photo. And
yes, sir.
And in your photo, if you want to, can you pick up your photo so we can make sure this is not no conspiracy thing here? We want to know if that same photo that we see here is the same facial, the same face that we get out of your photo. That's want to make sure we on the same page with this photo. All right, so we are on the same page, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Now, this was previously, before he got in this vehicle, and you took this photo. Why is this mustache longer than this photo from earlier that night?
As I said to you, Huggy, I cannot get into that. I don't know anything about the mustache theory. That's something I just started hearing, I don't know, about 6-7 months ago. So I don't know.
You might not have to answer this, but I'm just going to ask you a personal question. Just me and you, right?
Yeah.
Can you agree that this mustache is longer than that mustache from earlier that night?
Yeah.
All right. Now, I just remember you saying, "Oh, this is just ridiculous. Y'all are questioning it," and I didn't have no problem with you saying. No. I don't have no problem with you saying that. My thing is that you tried to clown us for what we're saying, and you just answered it.
What do you mean, clown?
You were talking about how people were conspiracy theorists on the mustache picture.
Yeah, because you're asking me about a mustache. My
name is Ronald Risky Brent. I'm an artist, formerly of Death Row Records art department. I was responsible for some of the most iconic album covers in hip-hop history. So Tupac, he told me that I was really dope and he wanted me to work on, a project which turned out to doing the insert for the All Eyes on Me album. I remember when I first got the call from the president of Death Row at that time, Norris Anderson. We need you to draw Tupac on the cross for the Makaveli 7th Day Theory cover. And I said, draw Tupac on the cross? I said, for real? So I started painting on the canvas. Pac looked at it and he was like, oh my God, you actually did it. So from there, he was like, I need you to start doing stuff in my house. He was like, my walls are naked. Once we come back from Vegas, we're gonna start figuring it out. That was the last time I talked to him.
Yeah, you did a lot of work for the Makaveli 7th Day Theory.
Yeah.
How was the whole atmosphere during the recordings of this album?
In comparison to All Eyes on Me, Makaveli had a more dark vibe to it. It was a good vibe. It was almost, I want to say it was almost spiritual.
Was the album 100% finished before Tupac passed away?
The album was mixed and mastered with Tupac's approval before he passed away. The only thing I'm gonna tell you, the only thing that I was afraid of, and this is just for me, I kept saying to myself, okay, even the cover art was done. I actually saw the not just the cover art, but the painting that he did. Okay, and so that was done. My question now, that the question that was rambling around in my head is like, okay, so how is this record gonna sell 1 million units? How was this? Well, 6 million units. At the time, I was just thinking 1 million. How was it going to go platinum? Because All Eyes on Me, bam, on Billboard, bam. Oh, it's to the top one day, sold 1 million records, so on and so forth. So how is this record going to top that? And I can't, that was the question going around in my head, even to the point that when Tupac was shot, I was in Los Angeles. I was at the studio, and I was actually thinking, wow, what a publicity stunt. Wow, what a publicity stunt.
Wow, what a publicity stunt.
This guy's going to sell, oh my gosh, that's how they're going to do it. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. You actually sang on some Tupac songs.
Yeah, you can run the streets with your thumb.
Right. Were you cool with Tupac? You guys were friendly?
Absolutely.
What do you think was your best Tupac story, being around all day?
Well, because every time we would see each other, we had this kind of ongoing joke where he was like 5'4". He was almost my height. So I would always say he was standing up, and I would just go, stand up when a lady walk in the room. And he would always go, lower your voice when you talk to a man. So
he was like 5'4". He was almost my height. So he was like 5'4". He was almost my height. So he was like 5'4". He was almost my height. So
in prison, and he gets out after being sentenced on bail. How does that work? Why would the government okay that if he was public enemy #1? If Tupac is alive, he was a government agent. I want you to think about it. A body was presented. The police responded. The body was taken to the ER. Doctors worked on the body. Doctors pronounced the body dead. Media covered every step of the process. The body was cremated. So for you to believe that Tupac faked his death with a body actually being presented and police were not involved, the hospitals weren't involved, the media wasn't involved, the mortuary that supposedly cremated him wasn't involved. The only way that could be pulled off is if he was down with the government.
Well, it is the stuff of Hollywood legend. Rapper Tupac Shakur comes to Las Vegas for a boxing match, then gets gunned down. He was killed here nearly 25 years ago. But there are some fans who believe a conspiracy theory that Tupac is in fact alive.
Yeah, well, now a local filmmaker is tackling this possibility in a new movie currently in production. Anchor Jackie Kostick spoke to him, and she joins us in studio.
Well, Trisha and Todd, part of Tupac's legend is that he'd been shot 5 times and survived before that fateful night here in Las Vegas in 1996. And because of that, Tupac's legacy has always been linked to Vegas. But a local filmmaker says Tupac shouldn't be connected to Vegas because he died here, but because this is where he made his great escape.
Going straight to the point. After the shooting, what's next?
Most people would agree with official reports that after being shot, rap icon Tupac Shakur was taken to UMC where he died 6 days later. But local filmmaker Rick Boss has an alternate ending.
This movie is about Tupac actually escaping from the University Medical Center here in Vegas and relocating to New Mexico, getting protection from the Navajo tribe.
Boss says when the rapper arrived to Las Vegas for fight night, he was informed of a planned hit on him. Now that's when the escape plan came into fruition, from planting a double in Suge Knight's BMW to a strategic aerial exit.
When certain FBI agencies are looking for you, the first thing they're going to do is block the airport so you can't travel out. So the best way to escape is through helicopter, private helicopter, to another state.
FBI agents can't go onto tribal land without the tribal council's permission. Boss says that's why Navajo land in New Mexico made for the perfect hideout. And while many may dismiss the premise as fiction, Boss says the information for the script came from people in Tupac's family and circle.
I mean, you can write a fiction, story, but this is not fiction. This is facts through certain people that I know.
Boss knows G-Money and Snoop Dogg, who collaborated with Tupac, and Boss's father knew Tupac's mom from their involvement in the Black Panther Party. Boss says ultimately he wants Tupac fans to see the movie and decide for themselves. The man who plays Tupac, Richard Garcia, says he believes the rap legend did die in Las Vegas in 1996 at the age of 25. But his legacy still very much alive.
He's gone, but he lives on, like you said, like his mother said. He lives on through all of us, through our memories, through our hearts, through our tribute.
This film is still in production, and Boss says it will likely come out sometime next year. Trisha and Todd?
The final product will look like.
Absolutely.
Jackie, thank you.
It's gonna be some stuff you're gonna see.
Rap star and actor Tupac Shakur received multiple gunshot wounds in a drive-by shooting in the country.
Just the way it is.